Whether or Not on WHAS 11 Plus is sponsored by Big O Tires.
Hey there, and welcome to yet another episode of Whether or Not. It's our weekly weather streaming show right here on WHAS 11 Plus, sponsored by Big O Tires. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell, joined by meteorologist John Gordon. He's back from his conference. Welcome back. And meteorologist Austin Evans. So we have a lot to talk about in this episode. And first things first, we're going to talk about the warm weather we've been having lately and really throughout the month of March.
We go from all this cold, we never thought it was ever going to end, and now it's been toasty.
It's been toasty. There's been a lot of 80s.
Remember when snow was on the ground?
Right.
And we were all like, please go away. And then it never got cold again.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So March ended up being our fourth warmest March on record for Louisville. All of our average highs or lows averaged together, it gives you 56.7 degrees there. So fourth warmest on record. The first, March 2012, which you may remember, we were just shy of 60 degrees for an average high and low.
Yeah, what's interesting when you look at those years, you got 2012, 1910, 1945, now us. So, everyone talks about these warming temperatures, weather over time and period, you see big maxes and mins, and look at that. So we haven't had anything in many years.
Right, and obviously something that we talked about a lot last month were, hey, we broke another daily record high. We broke another daily record high.
And then we did it 3 more times after
And then
that.
we had the hottest ever.
Yes, 89 degrees. So the previous record was 88. We had reached that several different years, but we almost hit 90 that one Sunday. And I remember I was supposed to do yard work that day, and I was like, no, it's too hot.
It's too toasty out there.
My body wasn't ready for the 90-degree high. So.
It hasn't adjusted to, summer at those temperatures yet, because at that point we had just gotten into spring.
Right.
Like, 27 hours into spring?
Well, and we also had a high of 32 on St. Patrick's Day, and that was one of the coldest St. Patrick's Days we'd had, I think, in 85 years or something ridiculous. So
most of that Keno board you're looking at is red.
Yes.
I mean, you do have that 32, the St. Patrick's Day, you have the first one 39, but overall it's quite red.
Warm, warm, warm.
St. Patrick's Day really killed the average to not get us up into like third or second place.
Right.
That was a weird day because we had snow showers and snow grains.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that was strange. Yeah. We also picked up
windy.
Quite a bit of moisture, almost 5 inches. A lot of that fell in the first week and then kind of sporadically throughout as well. And we've been warm, obviously, this week to kick off April here. So a lot more highs in the 80s, overnight lows not cooling. That was the thing as well in March. I believe we had 2 record warm lows.
Yeah, those are so confusing. Yeah.
So I know it's weird to say, but the warmest, we just didn't cool off.
Or it just doesn't cool off.
Yeah, we didn't cool off much. We do have the front that's been kind of stalling out and bringing all the waves of rain and some severe weather threats, especially to our west. It's going to swing through Saturday night and into Easter Sunday, so that will cool us off. And then we'll start to warm back up.
So on that map right there, so you got the bulge in the middle with the trough. What's so interesting is there is a lot of cold air in eastern Canada still. So if you look at Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and on the top of the graphic, way up there to Baffin Island, it's still cold up there. And believe it or not, we're going to see snow in Minnesota through Michigan in the next few days.
One good thing that I've noticed on the national temperature map is the Southwest is no longer cooking.
Right.
At least to the level that they were.
They've gotten some relief because, I mean, that was rough down there. It was the earliest, I believe, Phoenix and probably Tucson as well hit the triple digits.
That's right.
I mean, it was just way too
And
warm,
there's the
way too
bulge coming
quickly.
down. I mean, there's still sporadic parts in New Mexico and there, but most of it's going to be moving off to the east. So we're going to be warm through Saturday.
Yes. And then we have a front that's going to move through just in time for Easter. We obviously have more rain on the way, but the way this has been setting up is keeping the heaviest just off to our west and north, closer to the boundary there. Yeah. And a lot of the severe weather as well. So, I mean, we're kind of looking out with that. We do have a marginal risk of excessive rainfall with the front on Saturday. Yeah. So, we might have some heavy rain at times.
Saturday looks like a wet part of the day when that front comes through. Yeah. But Sunday, Easter?
Yeah. For Easter, this is all moving on out of here. So.
It'll just unfortunately be sloppy, muddy, wet.
I know. That's the only thing. I'm like, we're drying out for Easter Sunday, but those egg hunts in the grass with the kids in their little Easter dresses, it might be a little messy.
Yeah,
But
next week looks good.
It does. So we have some quieter weather on the way next week. But we're going to take things back to just a year ago when John and I first worked together. Hard to believe this was a year ago.
Yeah.
But it was a very active night and also week for us with this pattern that we had last year.
Yeah, that was an amazing event where we knew we were going to, I think we both said at the 6 o'clock news, we're going to have a tornado within 60 miles of Louisville.
And we had a few. So we kicked off April on a very active note. And this is from the National Weather Service, Louisville. And keep in mind, our coverage areas differ somewhat. So this is kind of their general region. I believe there were 8 tornadoes for Kentuckiana, where WHAS covers, we had 5. And, you know, one that was notable was
half a mile from my house.
Yes, an EF3 near J-Town. And thankfully, it went through kind of the industrial park area, you know, so it definitely caused damage to buildings, but...
I assisted emergency management with that rating. Yeah, the most of that tornado was an EF1, okay? Was what, 9 miles? I think it was 9 miles. So 8 miles of it was EF1, but in a 400-yard area in the Bluegrass Industrial District, it was not an EF1. It went to EF3 very quickly and took a bunch of big buildings and caved them in where the center truss got ripped out and they fell in. And thankfully, no one was in those buildings. Otherwise, it would not be good.
Different outcome.
I want to briefly talk about the Taylor County one, just because that's my home county.
Yeah.
But I don't know where Burdick, Kentucky specifically is, but southern Taylor County, that area, pretty flat. Going into Adair County and going on the way to Columbia. It's a pretty flat area. There's not a whole lot of those in Taylor County, but that's the one, and that's where the tornado went through. Thankfully, just an EF.
And a couple days later, Mallory and I said on the newscast, there is a tornado in Nelson County, and the emergency manager kept saying we've had no reports, and I says, there is a tornado in Nelson County, and by God, they found it.
There was one, yes. So we had 5 in our Kentuckiana viewing area, 8 in NWS Louisville. It was a very busy night. We were just on air for hours.
We got to know each other.
Yes, we did.
We are now friends.
yes, bonded through that experience. But it was a long night of tornado coverage, April 2nd through the early morning hours of the 3rd. And then after that, we just had days of rain. So this was a setup where we basically had a stalled front and just waves of rainfall. I believe Louisville... There was a new kind of record, so to speak, where we had 3 consecutive days of at least 2 inches of rainfall, which we had never had, believe it or not.
And that made us nervous for Derby and Thunder over Louisville.
Yeah.
And then Thunder ended up being canceled.
Thunder got canceled, which
Correct.
I feel terrible for our station. When you have that much rain, the Great Lawn's not going to do well.
Right, yeah. And so, and we were kind of, quote, on the... I don't want to say the lower end. We still had 8 inches at SDF, but we saw some areas in western Kentucky up to 15 inches of rainfall, more than a foot. So obviously we had flash flooding, but because of how it fell over days, river flooding was what was so big. So.
Yeah, and river flooding is very, very difficult to forecast. Why? Because we can forecast 3 to 5 inches of rain. Okay? But where it falls will depend on the river's response. So for Louisville, you need a bunch of rain up between Louisville and Cincinnati in that area. If it falls south of here, that's a different basin and someone else gets it.
Yeah, so this was a look at the river forecast at that time. Red and purple, not good.
Very not good.
So you're looking at, you know, moderate to major flooding across really most of our rivers.
That's Frankfurt. They had to shut down some of the distilleries.
Distilleries, yeah, that was a big deal.
Bucks for this state.
Yeah.
And this stuff right here is why never once have I applied for any hydrologist job.
Over my head.
Andrea at the Weather Service is the rock star.
Yes.
She's our person. We go to Andrea.
Yeah. So thankfully, even though we're seeing, you know, warm, unsettled weather this week, nothing like this time last year.
It's active, but not quite as much. And the rainfall potential map that we showed earlier, remember what that looked like a week ago?
Right.
It was like 5 inches through Easter, and thankfully that pulled back a whole lot as we were forecasting through this past weekend.
And just a comment on that, all right? There are people on the internet putting out foolish charts. In 10 days, we're going to get 5 inches of rain. That's why you rely on Mallory to give you honest, good, reliable information, because there's a bunch of people who are misguided, putting out information, getting people excited for no reason whatsoever. We don't do that here.
Yeah, find a meteorologist that you trust and stick with them. So,
Preferably us.
yes, we'd appreciate that. And now we're going to take things back a step further to the 1974 tornado super outbreak. And this is an event that I think most people who were around or even afterwards think about in this area.
It's legendary amongst your grandparents, your parents.
Yes, definitely.
Especially for Kentucky.
Yeah, and we're going to delve into this, but first we have a great report that was put together on the 50th anniversary. Our own Reed Yaden, John Humphreys, flew back over some of the damaged areas and compared it to the damage just after the outbreak. So take a look.
We're hitting winds up the good gracious sakes alive.
How high is the wind speed at this time?
There's 50 right there. My golly, the whole thing's going here. I'm going. Come on.
Now the wind damage hit the roof of Freedom Hall and it tore 3 big holes in the roof. The horse barns are no more. It is definitely moving up toward the Crescent Hill water tank now.
It was just after 4:30 when meteorologist John Burke abruptly ended that live radio interview. Dick Gilbert followed the tornado in a helicopter as it cut an 11-mile path northeast across Louisville Metro, impacting Audubon Park, the Highlands, Crescent Hill, Indian Hills, and Northfield. 900 homes leveled or severely damaged. You're looking at Northfield, just after the tornado. Here's the way Northfield looks today from the Sky 11 drone.
It's as bad as I've seen anywhere. The whole park over here, Seneca Cherokee Park, there aren't any trees left in Cherokee Park.
400 acres of Seneca and Cherokee parks lost 2,000 trees. The cleanup included planting 2,500 new trees. The words of a parks official 50 years ago have proven accurate.
25 years from now, I think that there will certainly be evidence that that this part of the park is less mature than parts of the park that weren't hit. 50 years from now, I think it will be a pretty mature looking park, so that somebody that's in grade school or even high school today has a very good chance of seeing it as a mature park.
Damage from the tornado cost $37 million. That equals over $250 million today. While a half a century has erased the scars, the memories of April 3rd, 1974 are forever etched in the collective memories of this community.
Just some great footage there. And of course, huge impacts here, but it was a super outbreak, which means it stretched across many, many states. 148 confirmed tornadoes in the U.S. and Canada, 30 F4 and F5 tornadoes. Unfortunately, more than 300 direct fatalities from that, 6,000 injured, as we mentioned, 13 states there, and approximately $5.3 billion in damage in today's money. And this was what we kind of thought of as the big super outbreak until 2011, which I think surpassed that in certain ways. But just a really big day across our area and across much of the region.
They didn't do F-Zeros back in '74, so there may have been more.
Right.
So I lost 31 people in Brandenburg. I will never forget that. It was the same storm that hit Louisville. And so you have 2 big events in my lifetime. One is the April 3rd. Now, what most people don't know is April 1st, there was a tornado outbreak that no one talks about. So in 2012, we had the Henryville event. 2 days prior, we had the leap year event where we had 9 tornadoes, 1 in E-Town. It's always on these big events, same thing in Tuscaloosa 2011, there's always an event preceding the big event because the jet stream is very active and there's a couple little disturbances that ride in there. And this is the definitive event for Louisville, Kentucky for severe weather. April 3rd, 74. You do not want to ever have an event like that, especially now we've got homes everywhere where there used to be farmland.
I got Mansville, Kentucky, which is also in Taylor County, was pretty much leveled during this outbreak. And my mom and grandfather found a newspaper that my great-grandmother had saved for some reason. It's the tornado edition of the Central Kentucky News Journal, Campbellsville's newspaper. It's one of my prized possessions. I have it framed in my living room because it's an incredible piece of history that I don't know how many people have anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
so let's think about the super outbreak here. So in our area, Madison, Indiana, F4, Brandenburg, F5, 4 here in Louisville, Campbellsville, 3.
I would have to look at the newspaper. Mansville was destroyed,
3 or
so I'd be
4.
surprised if it was lower than 3.
And look, there you go.
I have the tracks here, but
There we go.
So all of those individual little markers are the tornado tracks, and they're color coded. I believe the orange is F4,
Yes,
so
right.
that would be.
So that would have been the one that went through Taylor County.
And the reddish ones, those are the F5s, which the only 2 that we've had in this area.
That's right.
Occurred during this super outbreak.
And you had one on the east side of Frankfurt in Jet. You had Richmond, Kentucky, took a direct hit.
Look at that long track one through southern Indiana.
Yeah, that's that one that went up and hit the power plant in Madison. Hit the power plant. This was an epic event, just epic. Not only here, Guin, Alabama, F5, Xenia. The one I think about is up in Indiana, Monticello. That was on the ground almost 100 miles.
Jeez.
So we don't like events like this. We like San Diego weather.
Right, and the F4 in Louisville, I believe it started near the airport, cut through, as we mentioned, Cherokee Park. My dad and his parents they lived near St. X. And so thankfully, I literally asked him today, because this has been an event that he's talked about over time, obviously he remembers 74.
Probably one of the reasons you got into weather.
Yeah. And he was like, I remember us running to the basement. We were terrified. The sound, he was the one that said it sounded like a bunch of trains, and it dropped or, leveled some trees in even George Rogers Clark Park, which was like a couple blocks from them. So, this went from SDF, Cherokee Park, up to Oldham County before lifting. And I'm sure if you were around in 74, you remember exactly where you were this day.
I-71 would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because there were multiple tornadoes within 15 miles of I-71, all the way between here and north of Cincinnati.
And to consider our methods of warning people back in the 70s, they were better than, say, the tri-state tornado, but still not great, not a good coverage to get people warned. We had that radio broadcast, and that was as good as we could do.
And let's praise one guy really quick, Dick Gilbert. Dick Gilbert is, if your family's listening, he's the hero. He was in a helicopter doing traffic, and lo and behold, he finds a tornado.
Yeah, that was some of the footage that we saw in that package there. So great that we have that footage there. Obviously, 74 is something that, as we mentioned, is cemented in Louisville history.
Forever.
And is an event that we always come back to and we never want to see repeated. So we are going to switch things up a little bit and talk about something that's a little bit lighter, which is Easter is this weekend.
It is.
And this time of year, especially with Easter falling on, different weekends every year, we can have different kinds of weather. So, warmest Easter we've had on record, 87. I'm honestly shocked it hasn't been warmer than that. 20 is the coldest, more than an inch of rainfall in 2017, and we've had quite a bit of snow.
Look at the one on the right.
Well,
More than 6 inches of snow in 1970.
all of those records are safe this year. Not
Yes.
going to see any of those.
Not looking to break any
Easter egg
records.
hunt, and it's 6.4.
Can you imagine? All right, we're just going to hide these in the
Imagine
snow.
hiding. Well, maybe
I
the
hope
day
they're all
before.
colored.
Maybe the day before you hide the eggs, it snows, and you have no idea
That'd be
where those
I don't
things
know
are.
that event. I don't. Doug Proffitt probably remembers it. I don't know that event.
1970. Oh, well, and something that happened not too long ago.
That's a famous picture.
Do you remember 2007? Because there was, I was looking back at data for this. Obviously, snowiest opening day at Keeneland. That's what you're seeing here.
That's on a packet on the desk in the weather
Yes,
office.
that's what I keep. I keep that as the top 25 events. But this was also part of a Easter freeze that caused a lot of crop loss.
Exactly.
That was what the big.
So at UK,
Economically.
they have an agricultural meteorologist over there. Used to be Tom Pretty, now it's Matt Dixon. And the amount of money that those extension agents is in the high millions high millions the amount of agriculture damage.
This still probably would have been in Kentucky's tobacco age too.
Oh, yeah, bad.
So that had to have been.
Because it was for several days.
Yes.
One thing about
I should ask
freeze
my
is you need
grandfather
a
about
long period, and it was unfortunate. The buds are coming out, and then this.
It was a very warm March, like
It was
what
a
we
warm
had,
March.
and then several nights in a row where we were dipping down into
They
the
said it's
20s.
the worst scenario of all when you get a really warm March and then
Yeah.
the
So,
nasty plunge.
That was 2007. So that's your Easter climatology as I throw a pin across the desk. But we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with a little bit about Artemis and also your weather trivia and your weather photos of the week. So stay tuned.
Big O Tires has more than 460 locations nationwide. We feel everyone in our community deserves legendary care. Big O is the team you trust.
At Big O, that now is no problem at all.
Right now, get $80 to $120 instant savings on 4 select in-stock tires with installation purchase, plus 0 interest if paid in full within 12 or 6 months.
Big O Tires, the team you trust.
All right, welcome back to Whether or Not. And one of our viral videos this week doesn't really need much of an introduction.
Viral is an understatement.
Right.
This one. I've been so excited for this. Ever since Artemis was announced and unveiled. I've been
Going to the moon.
We're going to the moon.
We're going to the moon. So let's take a look at the video here.
7, RS 25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Ugh. I got chills when I watched this yesterday.
Me too.
I'm getting chills now. And one day NASA will develop a camera that can withstand a rocket blast.
Right, it blacked out for a second there.
That was weird.
But this is a huge step for our deep space exploration. Whether or not I'm going to see much of that in my lifetime is to be determined. But Artemis is going to the moon to set up for deeper space exploration. I've had a lot of people ask me, why are we doing it again? We've already done it. Why was it impossible for us to do it? We had to rebuild that infrastructure. We can't just use Apollo again. It's not possible, and all those people aren't with us anymore. Right. So we had to rebuild this. Next year, hopefully, we will be testing the landing mechanisms, and then in 2028, again, hopefully, we'll put boots on the ground.
It was just absolutely phenomenal. And if you want to watch something that's kind of like that, is an airplane that was 60 miles from there was flying, and they recorded Artemis going up.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Everyone went to the right side of the airplane. I'm surprised they didn't just come over, because they just see this, and the trail was unbelievable. Just Google it. It's amazing.
I'll be looking for that video, and I imagine the flight attendants on that flight just kind of gave up on trying to control people.
Watch this moment in time. Yeah, and it was caught on satellite too, of course, thanks to the
that
clear
was wild
skies.
too,
So
yeah.
that's really, really cool. But an exciting moment always when we go to space, and they'll be back. I think it's a 10-day mission, right?
10-day mission, yep.
So
it's the real deal.
Real deal.
And real quick, one of the things I'm most excited for, all the Apollo footage is from the 70s. We're gonna have 4K cameras on the moon.
Right.
So we're gonna have really high resolution photos and videos of people on the moon in a couple years. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. So
I'm
cool.
so excited.
And we have another video this week, and this time we can talk about this a bit, because when I first saw it, I was like, is this real? But this is out of Western Australia. And the videos show a bright red sky, which just almost looks like you put a filter over your phone. But to an extent, we have seen, orange skies here due to wildfires and things like kicking up dust. Right. So this is due to, I believe, iron-rich dust being kicked up there by a tropical cyclone or out ahead of it.
It really depends on what is the soil type that's going over when the wind starts pushing that up there. In this case, it had a bunch of iron and silica.
Yeah,
and
that's red.
Try white balancing that footage.
We both had the same reaction. AI.
I know. I was like, is this real? I don't know. But
when in doubt, do a Google reverse search on your Google Photos, because there's too many people trying to fool us.
That is true. Yeah. But really interesting phenomenon, even if there was a tinge of red, just due to the iron-rich dust particles there.
We had the Canadian wildfires a couple of years ago. Remember how reddish the
like
sunsets
Chicago
were?
and like,
You could look straight at the sun. I don't recommend you do that, but you could look straight at the sun when it was that smoky and not suffer any ill effects.
Yeah.
At least briefly.
Wild, 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 wild weather. But now it is time for one of our favorite segments every week, which is weekly weather trivia with meteorologist Matt Breland.
Thanks for keeping it here on Whether or Not. You're in time now for this week's edition of Weather Trivia. I'm meteorologist Matt Breland, and with all of the rain showers that are popping up around, something that we're seeing more of are rainbows. So something that I thought would be cool to bring up would be a double rainbow trivia question. It's a phenomenon that we see sometimes around here. So how does a double rainbow really appear? Is it the same as the original bow? Is it the reverse color order of the original bow? Is it only half of the original bow? Or is it darker than the original bow? Also, shout out to Debbie Barmore for sending us that photo on our Kentucky, Indiana Cloud Watchers page. The correct answer is that it is reverse of the original bow. So look at that picture carefully. And thanks to Susan for sending that picture to us also on our Cloud Watchers page. The color order is reversed. The secondary rainbow shows the colors reversed because of the reflection patterns. It shows it that flipped pattern. So you know how we say Roy G. Biv for the color scheme? You can think of that one as Vib G. Yor. So that's this week's edition of Weather Trivia. Guys, back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. That's a new way to say, Roy G. Biv backwards.
I already can't say it.
Yeah.
I already can't say it. Really cool, though.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Just
always like rainbows.
Refracted light through water and whatnot.
All right, we're going to wrap things up now with photos of the week. What you got this week?
Got some good photos of the week this week, and we're going to tie everything together right at the end, but let's go to this first one. Foggy Beckley Creek Park, sent in from Ellen Stanley Sears, one of our repeat offenders on the weather on the Cloud Watchers page. Really good shot. It's just photogenic. There's nothing else to say really about it. Really, really lovely shot of that dock there. And we're gone fishing with the sunset there, and there are people fishing right at the bottom of the shot. Wow. That's by Terry Kelly, who is, again, one of our repeat offenders.
Awesome, Terry.
And I think Mr. Kelly. But really, really good sunset over Boulder Pond. I want to go there and just chill. I'm not a big fisher, but I'll hang out with the people that like to do the fishing. And to tie everything together, it was a full moon yesterday, the full pink moon to be specific.
It was bright.
But this is shot by Russ Lighting and from Prospect, and it was a good moon last night. If you were able to get out and look at it, when I got home, looked up at the moon. There was a cloud right in front of it. Moon didn't care. Just shining right through it.
It was very
You could
bright
still see details in the moon through that cloud. So that was really cool. Continue sending us your photos. The group has kind of popped off in the last couple months.
Yeah.
It gets a ton of photos every day, but especially when we get the really photogenic stuff, then they really start coming in. You can send them to our Facebook group, Kentucky, Indiana Cloud Watchers. Ask for approval to get in. You just got to answer a couple questions. You can also text us at that number or email us at that email there. We'll get them that way as well. But the best way is that Cloud Watchers group. You see me in there chatting every now and again, just complimenting people on talented people that are more talented than I am when it comes to photography. So thank you for your photos, and I look forward to seeing what makes it next week.
All right, we had a full episode today, guys. Thanks for joining us for this episode, and we will see you back here next time on Whether or Not.